moved to New York City, and then a couple of years ago I moved to Jersey.
Ah,
So
The only time you
I'm
hear a Jersey accent is when they're out of Jersey and they got to pump their own gas.
yeah, this is fucking bullshit. Just like turn on the Tony Soprano. Can you believe this fucking shit? No, no
Mhm.
Jersey accent for me. I think like when sometimes when I'm on stage, I might like turn on a character and like have an out of body experience where I'm somebody else for a moment, and maybe that person's from Jersey, but yeah, now I'm Jersey. So
now he's
good music
Jersey.
scene here. Now I'm Jersey. I do not pump my own gas. All right, get out of here with that stuff. Nope, not 1 minute. I
I've
will
pumped
not
my own
pump my
gas my
own
whole
gas.
life.
When Cassie and I just took a trip down to New York City and then we stayed overnight in Parsippany, had to fill up her gas tank and she did not want anyone else pumping her gas. I'm like, you are not allowed to
It's
pump your own
sad.
gas.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I have been living out here for 3 years. And like once we actually moved out here, I was like, babe, you do not tip them. Like we can't, this is their job. We're not tipping the gas pump. It already costs so much to fill up the tank. And every now and again, she'll like take out a couple bucks. And I'm like, we don't have to tip them.
Enough talking about EVs and whatever. We should talk about our guest tonight.
How
But
about the
actually, I want him to
economy?
talk about himself first. Could you please introduce yourself and the role you play in the band?
Hi, my name is Matt Sullivan, and I sing and play guitar in the band Title Holder.
And if you could give us a quick rundown of how Title Holder came to be.
Title Holder, Title Holder was a band that was born out of the pandemic. I kind of just, as a joke in 2020, decided in a like deep seed of depression that I wanted to write some ska music to like cheer me up. Um, and so like just I'm out of work and I'm writing songs and I'm recording like demos in Logic at home, and I was listening to the singer of Less Than Jake, his podcast. It had like just started, and at the very end of the podcast he had like a little thing that was like, hey, the world's shut down, and if we're looking for people to work with, and if you are a musician and you have any songs, send them to me and maybe I'll think about working with you. And I had like all these songs on a hard drive, and my girlfriend, my wife now, she was like, you should just send the shit to Chris and see what he says. And I was like, I'm not doing that. There's no way. And she's like, dude, you're playing Call of Duty in your underwear for 8 hours a day. Just do something. So I was like, all right, all right. And so I shot him a message, and I sent him a couple demos that I was working on, and he called me up and he was like, yo, what are you doing? This stuff's pretty good. What do you want to do with this? And I had no name for the band. It was literally like I'm writing all the horn lines on a keyboard and just kind of, going from there. And so after that, I started working with him remotely, and he co-produced the first record with me. So we wrote the record. I brought it to the studio. I brought it to a studio in South Jersey called the Gradwell House. And I worked with a producer that I'm friends with, Nick Brzezzi, and we just tracked out the entire record. I hired a couple horn players, and the rest is history. After the record was done, I was like, shit, I guess now we got to play shows. And that was kind of the birth of Title Holder.
Yeah. I feel like over the past few years now, like it feels like ska is trying to make a little bit of a comeback. Like it was really big when I was like first getting into like the scene back in like early 2000s and stuff. And then kind
Yeah,
of some bands just dropped off the face of the earth, but now it feels like it's coming back. What are your thoughts on that?
it's ska has gone nowhere. It's always been here.
I
no,
mean, it has
I
always been around, but you don't hear
yeah,
about it a
yeah.
lot anymore.
I think there's a lot more people that give a damn about it right now, which is pretty cool. It's there. There's been a resurgence. I think the pandemic and coming out of that era like brought like a lot of bands. Like I know that my story isn't the only one of starting something during the pandemic, and lo and behold, here we are 4 or 5 years later, and shit's going pretty well for people. Um, you know, I think there's like a lot of bands that are trying hard and doing good things, and people are paying attention. And now that, we're a few years into like shows being full blast happening again, and rooms filled up, everybody's coming out and having a good time.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like you were talking about coming out of the pandemic, but also just kind of the state of the world in general right now. I feel like ska's that slight uplift, right? That everybody needs. Like I know the like bands like, Less Than Jake, the Interrupters didn't go anywhere. But like Millington has come around. It's
Yeah.
just maybe ska's just what the world needs at the moment.
You know, I used to play in every kind of band you could imagine, hardcore bands, like electronic indie style stuff, pop punk bands, and I just always had such a good time at ska shows. Like no matter what, if I was at a ska show, the entire night I just had a smile on my face and was just digging it. And I remember growing up, and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, Real Big Fish, Goldfinger, Big D and the Kids Table, going and seeing those bands and being like, damn, if I could recruit enough band nerds, I could start a ska band. But I only had enough for another guitarist and a drummer and a bassist. So I was always in like a 4 or 5 piece, trying to be like Good Charlotte or Newfound Glory or something like that. And just kind of as a thing to keep me busy while the pandemic was happening, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write all the horn parts on a keyboard, and at least it's fun for me to listen to. I can drive around and be like, yeah, this is cool. And then with the help of Chris from Less Than Jake, it turned into like a serious project that, now we're like 5 years in, and we got to tour with them. That was crazy.
Yeah, and I know you're mentioning, you wrote the horn parts on the keys and everything. Ska bands have quite a unique arrangement of instruments. How did you decide on what that arrangement would be? And have you tried experimenting with non-traditional ska instrumentation?
I literally just by ear, I would sit there and I would write the root melody, and then for 20 minutes straight with it looping, try to find the harmony. And I'd be like, okay. What's funny is I actually hit up the dude from Millington. I hit up their singer because a couple years ago on Twitter, I was like, hey, when you're writing horn parts, do you usually have the saxophone or the trombone do the harmony? And he gave me like this like whole paragraph of how he makes that decision. So I just would play around with it and see what worked best. When it came time to go to the studio, I had hired a couple like pretty heavy hitters as far as like in like the pop punk and like ska scene. Matt Stewart, the late Matt Stewart from Streetlight Manifesto, he played trumpet on the first record. Dave Heck, who is in Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties, he played trombone, and John Ryan of Keep Flying played saxophone, and then also Buddy from Less Than Jake, he also added some trombone stuff to it. But when we got into the studio, I sat at the piano. We listened to the demos of the multi tracks that I brought from my apartment, and they kind of got together, and at certain moments they would be like, hey, everybody's kind of playing the root melody here. How about if so and so goes over here and does that? And then they would just do it. So it was kind of like just this magical moment for me to sit back and watch professionals like make it better in real time. I had like 75% of the idea there, but then when they got together as a section, they were like, yo, we know what you're going for, we got you. And it just, the rest was history.
Now that energy and that vibe, when you're making uh that recording those songs, how do you transpose that and bring that over into a live show? Because I mean, ska shows are kind of known for that high energy.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, what ended up happening is we don't even a lot of times, a lot of shows, we don't even have a trumpet live, which does make it feel like there is something missing. Our current lineup in our horn section is a tenor sax, AJ, Rodrigo plays a baritone sax, and then Kevin plays trombone. And what they kind of did for that whole first record was we all got together in a room and made a decision on who was going to kind of go for the higher register. And for a lot of that, we decided like tenor sax, since we've got a Barry that carries that low end. But that was always a thing that I wish I remember when we had already started playing out and we were a year or two in, I was like, damn, sometimes I really do miss like the trumpet sound with our live set. I think I'm going to try to hire a trumpet. And like everybody was like, yo, there's already 7 people on stage right now. We don't need that. So I have a couple friends that if one horn player can't make a show, we have a trumpet option in and play with us, which is always fun. But yeah, it's fun to play around with the dynamics and kind of let them put on their detective cap and figure out where they're going to go with it. And it does make for an interesting live set because you're kind of not getting the same thing that you would get on the record. It used to bother me, but the more that I've like sat in these shoes of what we do live, I like where it's gone and what it's turned into. And now with the newer songs that we've put together for a new EP that we're putting out later this year, we focused more on the current horn section and what that sounds like live, but we still did add trumpet and we mix it a little bit lower so it's not such a like in your face thing that you hear it, but you're not really going to miss it live.
I was thinking you were talking about like, oh, let's add the trumpet player and then you'll have like a bazillion people on stage. I wonder what ska band in history has the most people on stage at one
It's a good
time, like playing instruments and stuff. I've never really thought about it. I
I
wonder if Chris is
listen. I
Googling
still,
it.
I'm gonna look it up.
He's gonna look it up
yeah,
and see if it has it.
I'm just gonna look
I'll
up the ska
still,
band with most members.
I will still fight for a trumpet player on stage with us anytime. But I think some of my other guys got a little sensitive about it, and they're like, we don't need that many horns. And I was like, oh man, I want 9 more horns. Give me all the horns.
You just want a whole orchestra.
At some point, if things are going really well, maybe I'll do that.
It says
Like this.
Imperial Leisure has 10 members that perform at every show.
I don't even know who
Wow,
that
wow.
is. Have you ever heard
Pure
of them?
Legion. I've never heard of them.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to look them up.
But yeah, I guess that
Imperial
we all know what
Leisure.
we're listening to after this episode.
Imperial
No, it's
Leisure. I'm
it's
gonna have to check
also
them
is
out.
it's challenging too for an up and coming working band or quote unquote working. We're all in our mid to late 30s and holding down jobs and doing this as like weekend warrior shit. Um, but it's pretty challenging to find a group of people that are all down to do this to make no money whatsoever and just have fun and show up to rehearsals so we actually sound good live. So everybody that I've got on the team right now, I'm just thankful everybody's putting their spice on it and being a part of the thing.
For sure. So, what's the wildest thing you've seen happen in a crowd?
Wildest thing I've seen happen in a crowd.
Yeah, while you're
I mean,
performing.
I gotta tell you, I have such insane stage anxiety that when the stage lights are on, I immediately switched over. This happened a couple years ago, but when the stage lights hit me, I literally like forget the words to my songs. So I just started wearing sunglasses and I had that like big daddy moment where I was like, oh, now nobody can see me. And that was a way for me to kind of like not get freaked out by people. So a lot of times when I'm playing, I'm pretending I'm looking at people and making a connection, and I'm really just staring at my like the fretboard to make sure I'm on the right note. Um, yeah, craziest thing. I mean, every ska show's got a banana in a mosh pit, which is a great. There's always a dude in a banana suit, which is a real fun. There's a wonderful gentleman by the name of Burrito, and he goes to every single ska show. And every time I would say over the past 4 years, we always play this festival in Pennsylvania called This Is Not Croydon Fest. He lives out in California. He flies all the way out to this show every single year. And every year he has got the like most ridiculous new facial hair and haircut with a different color, and it's always kind of a fun thing. Like we all kind of like make bets on, okay, what color is Burrito's hair going to be, and is he going to be in a 3-piece suit or is he going to be in a wife beater? I don't know, but shout out to Burrito if you're listening. We love you. You are a wonderful human being.
Shout out Burrito. What a
Shout out Burrito.
name.
He actually he'll be so excited to know that we're talking about him. I'm gonna get a DM when this airs and be like, "I love you. I'll see you next week." He's a good guy. He's really really cool.
Now, I am also curious too, like, what do you hope someone feels after seeing you guys for the first time?
I hope that people are excited that like I feel like there are so many new ska bands, but like the ones that are doing like the most touring are like these legacy bands that some of them haven't put out a new record in a long time. Um, I'm always excited when I get some people that come up to me and they're like, I had no fucking idea who you were. And that was such an awesome set. Who the hell are you? I've never heard of you before. Like when we played out on the West Coast with Less Than Jake, we had no business doing that tour. Like with the amount of followers that we had on social media, nobody knew who we were. And we're opening these, 1,200 person theaters and playing for, five, six, seven, 800 people before the headliners go on. And every single time we got off stage, you go back to the merch table and say hi to people and whatnot. There would always be a group of people that would come over and go, I had no friggin' idea who you were. And that was so much fun. I brought my kids here. This is their first show. And like that literally happened like 4 or 5 times. Like a mom and dad who were like my age bringing their kid over and being like, this is our son or our daughter's first show. And they saw you. And I'm like trying not to choke up. I'm like, oh, that's really, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But it's just exciting to bring good energy and to have people reciprocate and give you that feedback that they had a good time and are excited to see where the band goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about a couple different songs to dive into them a little bit. I'm going to start with "It Doesn't Matter." Now, if I'm not mistaken, to me at least, it sounded very politically driven. Could you tell us more about it? And if I'm wrong about the inspiration, what is that inspiration?
Yeah, no, that one is super political. I actually I wrote that song literally in the shower. I was just like washing my hair and I was like, doesn't matter. And then I like was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I should do that. Put on a towel and ran through the apartment so that I could like track like a really really rough demo of that. But yeah, that whole song was very politically motivated. It doesn't take long if you look at the lyrics to know who I'm talking about. Um, I I think that the current state of the world is pretty fucked up, and that was a song where when I had written that, the president was changing into a different one, and I was pretty stoked about it. And it doesn't matter what you say anymore was something that was going through my mind for a long time. Not so much the case right now, but more, also like kind of a blanket statement, and maybe a bipartisan statement is like, dude, I think it's like that song's about all politicians, like I feel like everything that comes out of a person in that kind of power's mouth is kind of bullshit. So, I have trust issues.
Rightfully so.
But
I was
yeah,
actually
you look at those lyrics and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about a friend earlier today. I saw a comment on his Facebook. This is a friend, complete anarchist, like doesn't trust either side, hates both
Yeah, yeah.
sides, and he'll post things and you're like, dang, is which side is he on? And somebody had left a comment being like, do you even understand what you're saying? And he's like, did you see the thing I posted 21 minutes ago? That's the exact opposite of like what you're thinking I'm going for. It was great. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's right there. He hates both sides. Um
Yeah.
the
I lean more left, but it's there, everybody lets you down.
one way or another. Next song. So I found Animal really relatable, and to me that was a song like you're again. Correct me if I'm wrong about the inspiration or my interpretation. It sounded like you're thinking you love somebody and that it's reciprocated, but really was some form of lust that was underlying. It
Yeah.
wasn't really love. What inspired that song?
That song was so when I'm writing songs, like sometimes I'm pulling ideas from personal life. Um, Sometimes I'm literally it's just stream of conscious. I'll have some instrumentation going on and I'll just kind of I'll have a melody in my mind and I'll put words to it. Sometimes I'm literally grabbing like movie quotes. I've got like a notepad on my phone that like if I'm watching a show, I'm like, "Oh, that was good. Oh, you're better than I deserve. Oh, that I like that line." Um, when I was writing Animal, it was literally a song where I was trying to just kind of tell like a fake story, like about having like a one night stand and like I'm so pissed that this didn't work out. I shouldn't have even given you my real name. You know, never. She stood me up after that one night, and now we don't even talk again. I just shouldn't even have given you my real name. I'm embarrassed about this now. You know, and it was, and also it was a funny song too because I kind of just like I had fun with it and was totally pulling from just like parts of my life, but also just like telling a completely fabricated story about like what somebody would be going through in that situation. And then after it came out, I was like, damn, like people really like this. I better figure out like I better like have like a good way to explain myself on this one. And it really it's just it was a fake story that I made up. But, you know, like you just said, it's relatable. I think anybody can have that moment where like, you know, that person was a shitbag. I wish I didn't know them now. And that, you know, that's where that one came. I also that particular song I decided to be like Maddie Badass in the studio, and I was like, I think I can sing this song an octave higher, and I just like I nailed it in the studio. And when we do it live, I got to do all sorts of transposing magic with my voice because when I'm running around and jumping, it's not as easy to get up to that higher register than you would think. And sometimes we leave that song out of the set depending on how I'm feeling vocally, which pissed off somebody. When we played in Eugene, Oregon, this guy comes over to me and he's like, "Hey, that was a really great set. One piece of advice: play Animal next time." And then walked away. And I was like, "Shit. Okay, yeah, yeah. Later, dude." So you'll see a lot of Animal in 2026.
One more song that I found relatable here, "Story of My Life." So that one resonated with me pretty good given where my life is currently. Where's the inspiration from that one come from?
That that was the very very first song that I wrote for Title Holder. I was feeling super depressed and you know it was like it came from a moment of like feeling alone. And you know the chorus is I hope you know that I'm all right, like, and I came up with that chorus because as I'm writing this song I'm like physiologically like I'm noticing I'm like fuck I feel better already because I'm creating this song. But it was literally it was just like, you know, the middle of the pandemic, nobody's talk a lot of people weren't really communicating, and I was like damn, you know, they say good friends are hard to come by. And it just started, that song poured out of me. And that was the first song that Chris actually listened to, and he was like, "Dude, I think you might have something here." But that one was really special. Buddy from Less Than Jake added a bunch of trombone stuff to that. You hear like at the end of the song, there's like kind of like a horn fanfare, like a blah, 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 da, da. That was all stuff that he added to it. But yeah, that one's just kind of a song about being vulnerable and still letting people know that, you know, even when things are hard, like, you know, I might not come off as like being okay, but I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, you know, dude, everybody's got a bad day, and you know, you don't need somebody like, you know, calling the psych ward on you. And if you do, that's okay too. You know, for a ska song, it's pretty emo, right?
I suppose, right? Right,
A lot of,
Chris?
a lot of the, I mean, "Alone in a Crowd" by Catch 22.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, a lot of ska
Ska's allowed
songs.
to be emo as well. Come on.
yeah.
We're
I
all a little
emo and
emo.
listen. I mean, ska and pop punk and emo, like they all they all go hand in hand. Like you grew up and you went to local shows. There was always a pop punk band, a hardcore band, a ska band, so like it all weaves together.
So true.
So, tell us a little bit about this new EP that you've got coming out in a minute.
So actually, as of like today, we kind of made a couple decisions on this going from an EP to a full length record. You can add the
Wow.
you can
Giving
add the
people more.
applause. Yeah, yeah. So we started last year. I recorded 5 songs. We released 3 of those songs as singles. We had "Found My Home," "Time Won't Stop," and "Out Tonight." We put those songs out, and then I had 2 that were in the bank that I was still just trying to figure out what to do with. This past November, with the current lineup that we have, and everybody that went on tour with me, with Less Than Jake, our guitarist Andrew, he's got the voice of an angel, and he's a really really talented songwriter. And if you see us live, you hear him and all the harmonies that he's bringing to it. Every harmony that I did on the first record, I'm harmonizing with myself. But then when we got into the rehearsal room, he worked all that shit out. And so, like, you see us live and you hear his voice so prominently during our set. And so we thought that it would make a real big difference in this new record to make the record sound a little bit more like what you're going to hear from the band if you come see us live. So Andrew's doing a lot of harmonies. There's a couple songs that Andrew wrote where I do the harmonies and he does the lead. We did a couple Less Than Jake things where I do a verse, he does a chorus, and we just kind of played around with stuff. We're trying to grow as a band where we're looking at this as kind of like a evolution title holder 2.0. But that being said, we've got 6 new songs that are done this year. We've got 5 from last year, and I felt like it was a good opportunity to maybe repackage all of this as LP number 2, and just like still give each one of these songs the single time on the internet that it deserves. We're going to put out the first single, "Out of Touch," March 24th. We're going to let that sit around for about 30 or 40 days, and we're going to do the whole TikTok and Reels thing of us singing to the camera and doing all that shit. Um, and then we're going to drop another single in April. Last week of April, we'll do another one. We'll let that simmer for 30 or 40 days. And we're going to do that all the way up into the end of the year, or to the end of the summer. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a late August, early September. We're doing a little weekender run with a band called Bad Ups. We're going to do Washington, D.C., Baltimore. We're trying to head down to Virginia, and we're just a little 4-day, Thursday to Sunday. And we're doing that the last week of August, and we're trying to have the release of the second record coincide with that. But yeah, we're gonna have 11 songs for you. A couple of them you've heard already, but there'll be a few that you'll be surprised for on release day. So you won't hear the whole record throughout the year, but you'll hear a lot of good stuff. We're getting together. We're getting together actually this Friday to like start doing all of the social media content. We decided we're not even going to do music videos this year because there's so much proof in the pudding with like if you just post every day and make it kind of exciting and really showcase your singles, like you get the numbers and you're getting the attention and you're giving the love of the song. So we're trying that out this year, and we're really excited to have a second full length record. We put the first one out in 2023. 3 years later, 26, we've got the second one. So it feels like a nice time frame too. 3 years, we're not oversaturating it. It's going to
It's
be
true.
good. I'm very excited. We do not have a name for that record because we literally just decided this afternoon that this is what the new plan was going to be. So my wife, she actually does all of our designs. So I'm literally at work and I'm texting Danielle. I'm like, hey, change of plan. So now we need to come up with a vinyl variant, and we need to have a vinyl cover in the back. Are you good with that? And she's like, whatever you need, babe. So yeah, that's going to be the plan for this year.
Ah, so this new information is hot off the press, everyone. Hot off the
That's right.
press.
Smoking.
Smoking hot.
Smoking hot. It's pretty hot.
So
Straight out of Jersey,
unfortunately,
man.
guys, no EP in May, but you can look forward to a full length later in the year.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna give you one song a month up
Yep,
until the release.
up until the release.
And then
Now
we're
I
gonna give you maybe a little bit more. I
now I
don't
am
know.
cu-
We'll see how
now
I
I am
feel.
curious. I am curious too. What is the strangest place you've ever pulled inspiration from?
The strangest place that I've ever pulled inspiration from. Oh, what a good question. I don't know. The strangest place that I pulled inspiration from. Let me look at the songs. All of my like I mean, I'll have to say like some of my stream of conscious stuff are moments where I will just spit out words and then have a moment where I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? And then I have to sit there and try to look at the words that I just wrote down and go and try to make sense of them. But I mean, most of my stuff is kind of just your everyday nonsense. I hate going to work. I want to play music full time. Um, one of our, I would say probably one of the more fun songs. We have a song called "Empty Apartment," which was another one. I feel like the songs that you have more fun with come out the quickest. An "Empty Apartment" was literally my friend Dan hit me up and he was like, "Yo, the landlord just sold our building and I have to move out this week. Can you come over and bring a truck and like help me move out?" And I'm literally like, "Yo, that's a great idea for a song." And then I literally wrote, "I heard that the landlord sold the building. Guess we gotta move today." And that's the first line of "Empty Apartment." I heard that the landlord sold the building. Guess we gotta move today. So shout out to Dan Hernandez for getting kicked out of his apartment building in Queens. That was a great song, and a lot of people like it. But I don't know if that's exciting enough. But that was a weird one, right? Kind of weird.
That is an interesting one. Like, I know we've had people say they've got inspired just randomly in the shower before.
I,
Like, is there any
I
physical
mean,
places you've gotten inspired?
I find that I'll get like my best like lightning bolt moments when I go for a walk. Like if the weather's like it's super cold right now, so I'll like run downstairs on the treadmill. But if I'm ever having a moment where feel just completely uninspired and dead, if I go for a 2-3 mile walk with the objective of trying to figure out a song, by the time I get halfway down the road, I'm already going, I want to go to 7-Eleven and get a slice of pizza. Like I will just already have a song like ready to go in the bank. So, and I think that always just like getting your blood moving, working out and doing cardio and stuff like that will, if you're looking for an idea, it'll come to you. I've heard other people say that too. I think that's also why they brought walking those little treadmills into corporate buildings so that you could you could talk better. But yeah, I've come up with tons of ideas in the shower. It's always a fun one. But I mean, always like randomly, I remember one time, also like laying on the beach. I've had like voice memos where you can like hear like seagulls and children like accidentally hitting me with a football because I'm like, oh, this would be a cool song. So I mean, you get it wherever it comes.
It's true.
That's the magic. That's the
It
magical
hits
thing
when you
about
least expect it.
yeah, yeah. I'm like having dinner with my wife's parents, and I'm like, hold on one second. So all right, what were you saying? Like stuff like that. They're like, what were you doing in the bathroom? It sounded like you were humming. It's better if we don't talk about it.
It's better if we don't talk about it.
And there, right there, that could be the name of the next song. It's better if we don't talk about it. You heard it here
Maybe,
first.
maybe, maybe, maybe you're writing a
Maybe
new
that's the
song while on this
maybe that's
podcast.
the name of the new record. It's better if we don't talk about it.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm gonna write it down.
Write it down. If it becomes the name of the new record, I want credit. No, just kidding.
You'll be in the liner notes. We'll put you all in
Put
there.
Jam XP in the liner. That's all I care about.
That's right. Shout out to Jess and Chris.
Shout out to us. But
That's
talking more about music and songs that you've written, have there ever been any songs that you've written that were so personal you haven't released them yet?
there's a song. I mean, like so personal that I'm uncomfortable to release. No, I think sometimes like the so personal ones, like I think are really great and maybe so there's a song that'll be on the full length that hasn't come out yet and it's called Bumpin' and it's all about how I had way too much fun. We played a New Year's Eve show and I got so this was a couple years ago. I got so drunk that I just woke up in my bed after the show. And I my wife was not next to me because it was probably 1 p.m. and I was like, "Yo, oh my god, my head is bumping. What happened?" And she's like, "Oh, you don't remember? I cleaned the merch table. I got your amp in the car." And so my wife had like basically got me out of this show and I thought it was so funny, and so I called a couple friends because I was like, "Yo, I remember we were like dancing and everybody was having fun, and it was a great night." And then I don't remember, and but everything got home, and that was a song where I remember when I was showing Danielle that I was like, "Yo, I wrote a song about how you had to babysit my ass," and she's like, "Oh, real cool, yeah, that was a fun night for me." So I mean, personal songs like that, I think they're fun because you're pulling from a real experience and you know also trying to like make light of it and be silly with it and bring some attitude and you turn it into a ska song and it ends up being a really fun thing. But that's a new song that'll be out. There's no songs that are too personal that I haven't released. I think a lot of my songs they all have like certain themes of feeling vulnerable or
Hmm.
feeling like I'm racing the clock. The song Time Won't Stop is literally like a song about like I felt like as I get older, I need to focus more on doing what I love doing and not what I feel like the world needs me to do, like have this corporate job and pay these bills and do the shit. Like you start to get into your late 30s and you start to feel like shit, I don't know how much time I have left. I need to just like be there for my family and my friends and do the things that I love and cherish those moments.
Yeah. Now, on that note, too, like those personal songs, are some of those hard to play live for you? Or is it just come out anyways?
Those I I feel like on stage I literally have an out of body experience. Like I feel like my body goes into autopilot because I have so much anxiety. Like I don't drink before I go on cuz I want to play as tight as possible with the band. And sometimes my guys are like, maybe you should have a couple beers because I literally like I feel like I get very anxious and I put the sunglasses on and then I try to do like a and then I just put on a character and then I hit the stage and I'm like, what's going on, everybody? And I find some of those personal songs it's just autopilot for me. I find that I get really emotional right after I record the song. If I have a moment where I'm listening to it for the first few times after it's recorded or while I'm writing it and I hit that lyric that was about that thing, I have a moment where I get like choked up. And I know that when I get choked up, I know that that's a good fucking idea. I'm like, oh, if that's making me feel this way, that's good. Okay, boom. That's something I want.
Yeah. Now, to get on a different note, I want to know how the touring was with Less Than Jake. It wasn't that
Oh
long ago.
no, and end of 24. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So we did 9 shows in 10 days out on the West Coast with Less Than Jake and Kill Lincoln, and it was the greatest experience of my life, and also just like it was a moment where like 15-year-old me was like, oh, you fucking did it. Like I told myself for like the last 15 years, no matter where I'm at in the point in my life with a job or with a relationship or wherever it is, like I'm never going to stop playing music. Like I told myself when I was 15, like I love this and I'm always going to do it. And I feel like I've just been so invested for so long that it would be a gross disservice to myself to stop now. And when we got up on stage for that first show, we flew out to Seattle and we went an hour to Tacoma, and we get up on stage, and as we're walking into the venue, Less Than Jake is doing their sound check. The manager of the club is showing us like where the green room for us is, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? It's just out of body experience. We flew into Seattle, and within an hour of getting the van that we rented out there, we got a flat tire. So we're like, oh, this is a bad omen. Okay, we pull over and we find like a random garage or Jiffy Lube or something like that, and we walk in there, and we just tell the guy, hey, we're a band on tour from New York City, and if you could do this for as cheap as possible, we just got to get on the road and go and get to the club. And the guy's like, oh, you guys are in a band? It's on us. It's free. And we were just like, oh shit. Okay, cool. While this guy's changing our tire, Less Than Jake literally pulls up in the same parking lot that we're in, an hour away from where we're supposed to be. And Chris DeMakes just like walks over and he's like, how you doing, you son of a bitch? And we're like, okay, this is day one. It was the first time that our band was ever given the option for submitting a hospitality rider, which I had no idea what the hell. I was like, dude, like we get drink tickets in New York City. Like, I don't know what to ask for. And so I just went on Google and I was like, what do like opening bands ask for? And it's like case of water, small fare, crackers and cheese. And then just like one of the line items on somebody's hospitality rider was like meat platter. And I just did it as a joke. I was like, all right, meat platter, 12 pack of beer. We're not doing hard liquor. We're going to get in trouble if we do that. And then my guys saw that and they're like, who the fuck puts meat platter on a hospitality rider? And I was like, you know what, guys, you're all going to thank me when you get that meat platter. And then every single show on tour, we open up the fridge and we have a meat platter with the name Title Holder on it. And my guys, I'll send you some pictures or I'll put some on the Instagram story when this airs. Every single night, the guys made me hold up the meat platter and smile and took a picture and we put it online. I was lucky enough to be able to be one of the guys that shot the toilet paper gun for Less Than Jake every night. If you've seen them live,
Yep.
they have a set number of songs where one person on either side of the stage has a leaf blower rigged with a roll of toilet paper. And second night of tour, their tour manager, Matt, he was like, yo, I need somebody to do this with me. Will you do it with me for the whole tour? And I was like trying to like be cool about it, but really I was freaking out. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll do that. And then I like ran over to the band and I was like, guys, I'm the toilet paper guy. I'm the fucking toilet paper guy. No, you can't do it. I'm doing it. And so for the entire tour, second song of the set, I would get to run up, shoot the toilet paper, and then get off stage. And that was a magical moment for me. We were in Sacramento, California, and we had a few too many drinks, and our saxophone player accidentally fell off the ledge of our van and broke his wrist. And then
Oops.
we weren't sure that it was broken, so we were trying to just like gas him up and be like, "Nah, it's good. You're okay. It doesn't feel that bad." And we played Santa Cruz the night after. And just throughout the day, it just started blowing up a little bit more every hour. And so the next day we were in Ventura, and we went to urgent care and got him all casted up. So that was fun. Coolest venue we played, San Diego, the Observatory. It's just like classic theater, just one of those moments where when you're standing on stage and you're just like looking at the room empty, it just was like so beautiful. I grew up in Connecticut and I had like a friend of mine just randomly out of nowhere. I haven't talked to this guy in 15, 20 years, whenever we were seniors in high school. and he's like DMing me like, "Yo, I'm at your show tonight," and so I'm like playing, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's at our show. That's interesting." I'm playing, and the spotlight like moves through the crowd, and I see this guy, and I just had this moment. I was like, "Ah, what's up, dude?" Just it was really special. The last night of the tour was in Tucson, Arizona. And my wife flew out. It was her birthday. So we made like a whole night of it. We hung out in the green room. She got to meet all of Less Than Jake. They signed a tour poster for her for her birthday. It was just like, it was so crazy. And it happened, it was 2 weeks, but it felt like it just was over in a flash. And then it was like back to real life. And I was like, shit, now I gotta like go back to work and pretend that like I didn't do this thing. But now at work, everybody's like, "Hey, what's up, rock star? How you doing, dude?" but yeah, it was a surreal experience to spend time with Less Than Jake, and to have Chris, take moments out of his day to kind of like in little ways be a mentor to me and just talk to me about like how to survive as a band and how to take care of your voice and take care of your body. And, cause I, at one point I said to him, I was like, dude, you've been doing this for like 30 years. Like, how are you in such good shape and you can still sing as good? And he's like, well, it helps. I got Raj to sing half the set for me, but you gotta be smart. You can't party every night. And I'm like, okay, as I'm drinking a beer.
Yeah, I mean, you
But
do have to preserve your voice and everything.
yeah, yeah. He's a big advocate on responsibly using a nebulizer, one of those, breathe in some vapor before and after a show. Not too much though. You don't want to get pneumonia, he said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, there was a moment in Tucson. I remember JR like just sat on the couch and was just like talking business with all of us, and, like plans that he was making for the band, and how he's done it for as long as he's done it, and how he feels about that. And it's just like having those moments to like just kind of stand in that circle and like be a part of that conversation and just soak it in and just, try to bring that energy and those experiences back to this band and be as professional as possible, while also just like always remembering to like just have fun. Like when you're having fun on stage, the audience feels that. Like if you're stressed out, if you're not being authentically you, like everybody can clock that shit immediately. And that's something that your favorite bands, they all do so well. They are just inherently them, and they show you that part of themselves, and that's the part that makes you go, I fucking love that band.
Hmm.
And I just want to bring that, to to what we can do with Title Holder.
Now you're talking about the professionalism and Chris is making time out and mentoring you. But you mentioned the fun side too, and we know a lot of times during tours, bands prank each other. Were there any pranks going on that tour?
There were a lot of moments where people would, what happened? What happened? I have a shared album of every single picture of like one of our guys, whoever passed out first, somebody would just put as many beer cans in their hand, like just random stuff like that. I think we stopped at a Walmart. I can't remember where it was, probably somewhere in California. We pull over to a Walmart to just gas up and get supplies. And all of a sudden, our drummer Chase comes back with a bunch of Nerf guns. And so that in the van, we had this gigantic 15 passenger van. So, like, from front to back, at any point during any ride, you just, whoosh, oh, and then it was like, okay, so. And so there were a lot of Nerf gun wars to just kind of keep the morale up, because at certain points, like half these people didn't sleep that night, so they're trying to sleep while we're on the way here. So we would have kind of like a safe zone, like, oh, we can't mess with AJ or Rodrigo today. They're sleeping in the back, and then of course Chase would be like, right in the head. But not too many pranks. I also like was trying to go to bed as early as possible. So like right after the show, a lot of time I would like try to just like crash out, because I wanted, I was like flying from New York or Jersey to Washington like the air and the oxygen in the airplane like dried out my voice, and so for 2 days I was just sucking down tea, and I felt like I was always on the cusp of getting sick, but it never hit fully. But yeah, we had fun. I remember we stopped at there was a town in California called Weed, California, and it literally, huge sign that just says weed, and everybody wanted to go to the dispensary there, and they had like this indoor like smoking like lounge where there's like a ping pong table and a pool table and like arcade games, and so everybody was like getting high and having fun. And we did that one day and it was fun. But yeah,
Nothing too
not too
crazy.
many crazy. Yeah, we're all old men.
Now, being a ska band, I gotta ask a important ska question here. The album KSB Nights, Catch 22 or Streetlight Manifesto?
I mean, I'm a Streetlight fan. I like Catch 22 so much. We've played some shows with them, but I like sonically, I listen to the Streetlight version.
He's a
It's
streetlight
my
man.
listen. I mean, I'm biased. I got to work with Matthew Stewart. Rest in peace. But he was one of the most talented trumpet players who has ever been on stage, and I got a moment to spend a few days with him, and it was really really special. That being said, I love the guys in Catch 22. Can't wait to play with you again. But yeah, I love Streetlight. They're great.
And to turn this a little bit, what are some great ska anthem songs you think the world should know about, aside from your own, of course?
Aside from my own, well, I'm a big fan of what Millington's been doing. We were just talking about them earlier. Um, I liked the one of the first songs that they put out. I can't remember the name of it. Was it Beatdown Generation? I'm like looking on Spotify right now. Um, I love the Interrupters title holder. We named our band after that song. That song just always spoke to me, and it spoke to me enough that like I sat there and I looked at the lyrics because I thought when I was looking for inspiration to try to name the band, I had my notepad with all these random names, and I remember I was watching the Interrupters. They did like a live from Japan, like live DVD or whatever. It was on the internet, and it was their live show. And before they play that song, they talk about how title holder. This is a song about a fight song about fighting racism and depression and blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. And you listen to that song, fight like a title holder. And like I looked at those lyrics, and then I immediately went on to Spotify to see if anybody had taken that name. So I mean, title holder is kind of my anthem. I know somebody on Reddit was like, so title Interrupters have a song called Title Holder. Is Title Holder going to make a song called The Interrupters? And so maybe one day we'll do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's not a song that nobody like. Everybody's heard that song. A lot of people have heard it, but that's an anthem that you know one day when we're walking up the ska awards to receive our award for best song of the year in the genre of ska, I'll have the title holder song up there as we walk up. No. Title holder by the Interrupters. It's an anthem.
I was wondering that too. I didn't ask that question, but I was like, I wonder if their name came from that song.
Yeah.
And now
We
you
played
answered it.
yeah, it is. It is. It was funny. We played this like beach fest a couple years ago in Long Island, and it was like one of those shows where a radio kind of guy comes up before each set and goes, "All right, everybody, who's having a good time?" And then like I didn't know this was happening. We're like plugging in our amps, and he just like walks up to me to do like a preset interview in front of like 100 people at this venue. And he's like, "We're with Matt from Title Holder. Matt, can you tell me what being a title holder means to you?" And I'm just completely taken off guard by it. I'm also like just filled with anxiety looking at people, and I was like, I don't know, just being the best you can be. And he's like, all right, anyways, here's title holder. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now we start. Okay, cool. But, it was when I thought that he was going to like ask us how he came up with the name. And then he asked me what it meant to be a title holder. And it like threw a curveball at me. And I was like, I only had one thing prepared. And that was we got the name from the song. Okay.
It happens to us all. That we get thrown those curveball questions that we weren't prepared for. It happens.
Doesn't it though, Jess?
It
Doesn't it?
does. It does.
I'm really good at answering questions, when I have like an hour to think about them. So like I'm always terrified when I am doing interviews, but
Hey, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
I like
good job.
spicing
Pat
up.
on the back.
Thanks so much, Jess. Thank you.
Now, speaking of good jobs, Chris is
It's only because I know what question you're about to ask, and I don't know how that transition.
it doesn't transition. I'm terrible at them sometimes. But I don't have a good job. I'm not good job at this one. But as you can tell, I'm flopping at this. But if you had to pick three bands to go out on tour with, like a dream tour, obviously, I don't know, you could pick Less Than Jake, but I feel like that might have been already a dream tour of yours. If you could go on another dream tour, pick three bands to go with you, who would they be?
I I mean, so we did we played a show last year. It was just a one-off, but it was with Mest, and they were one of my like the pyramid of pop punk. Like when I was 16, Mest was my favorite fucking band ever, and I had a moment to talk to Tony in the green room, and also to just like say goodbye at the end of the night. And I was like, all right, so how do I do this without like sounding like a douche and being like, hey, if you ever need somebody to tour with, well, give us a call, man. But like I would 100% go on a tour with Mest. Um, we played a show with Mustard Plug, and those guys are just so fun. I would 100%. I wouldn't even check the availability. If Mustard Plug asked us to go out, I would say, fuck yeah, we're there. Um, we met this band called the Planet Smashers from Canada. They were really, really cool, and they were really, really nice. These are all hardworking bands that have been doing it for 20, 25 years. Yeah, I would do Mustard Plug. I would do Planet Smashers. I would 100% go out with Mest. I was also always a big Movie Life fan, and they're still doing stuff. If the Movie Life wanted a ska band to open for them, I'll pick up the phone.
Yeah, you'll pick up the phone.
I'll pick up the phone. We'll see what's going on. I don't got a lot going on here. Just raising children and shit.
Yeah, I think I recently saw like, you remember the band Suburban Legends?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're playing like a ska fest coming up out on the East Coast.
Are
I
they?
think.
They might
I think they are.
Supernova.
I can't remember which one it was. I
Supernova.
just saw it not that long ago, and I'm like, which one is that? But yeah, I remember seeing Suburban Legends a whole bunch of times, and they kind of disappeared a little bit, but now I think they're trying to come back again. Like
Yeah,
present
yeah.
themselves, bring themselves back out of out of a shadow they kind of were in a bit. Because I didn't hear a
The
lot from
ska
them for a
shadow.
while. I don't know. Could be a ska shadow. Is that
You,
such a
you know
thing?
what? I will. I'm going to make some amendments. I will also like to say that Big D and the Kids Table is a fantastic band. I would love to play a tour with them. They were always a big inspiration to me, and I played a couple shows with their guitarist. He plays in a band called Westbound Train, and he plays in another band called the Pomps, and they're all fantastic. And I love Big D. I would, if hey, Big D, if you guys want to go out on tour, we'll definitely consider it. It would be an honor.
Yeah. Oh, and it is Supernova that they're
Yeah,
playing.
yeah. Supernova is great. Supernova is that happens in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
That's a really good one. We've been trying to get on that. I may have like mailed the guy that puts that on a vinyl record with like a 3-page handwritten note, and I don't know if it came off the wrong way, but I was like, I really love what you're doing with this fest. We would love to be considered for the lineup. So maybe next year we'd love to play Supernova. We got a ska fest happening in Pennsylvania coming up, in April, called This Is Not Croydon Fest, and that one's real big, for like the Northeast kind of vibe. But we're on that with like Catbite, Voodoo Glow Skulls, the Toasters. That one's going to be real big, and that's April 24, 25, 26. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're
Yeah.
really excited to play that one.
I haven't been to too many ska shows in a while. It's been quite a bit. I mean, unless you consider like just seeing Les and Jake at Warped Tour, I mean, that's not really a ska show.
Yeah. Well,
But
from what I said earlier, you will see somebody dressed up as a banana in the
it's
mosh
true.
pit, and it's
Always
always
a
just
mosh pit with a banana.
it's a wonderful thing. We actually we were shooting promos at one of the This Is Not Croydon Fest shows that we played, a previous year, and lo and behold, our videographer that I had hired, I was like, "Yo, dude with the banana, if he's moshing while we're playing, can you just focus on him?" So I have like a 3 gig video file of just this guy running around in a circle, and we've always like cut it up into like random promos.
Hey, if it works, right?
It was a magical moment.
People love a banana running around, I guess.
You know what? I went to a Aquabats show. It was the first. They've been around for a long time too, and this is the first time I ever saw them. I saw them at Brooklyn Steel, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and they do like all sorts of inflatables into the crowd. They do like big like inflatable pool toys like pizzas and stuff, and they have everybody get up on those. And if it hadn't already been done, I was like, "Fuck, that's such a great idea. We gotta like throw inflatable toys. Everybody does beach balls, but there's not a lot of people that do giant inflatable pizzas." That made me really happy. I love the Aquabats. They're pretty
I
cool.
mean, gotta have a pool party, yeah.
Shark fighter, and then they threw sharks into the crowd. I was like, "Oh my god." Why did I wait 20 years to go to an Aquabat show? This was the greatest time I've had in so long.
And I don't even think I've ever seen them live.
Dude, it's so funny. Like it's it's just so much fun to just be in the room while this is all happening. They have these moments where they're like a projector screen comes out, and there's like a scene from like their show that happens, and then they turn it into the live show. I don't. It's just they've thought of so many different aspects and so many moving parts of the show where like they're interacting with like the video of themselves on the screen, and it's so funny and entertaining. It. I saw when I saw that show, I went home and I'm like just jotting down like, "Oh, this was like some really funny stage banter. We got to do something like that." And like, "Oh, and now if they're doing pizza going into the crowd, I'm like on Amazon trying to find like different pool toys to throw at people from the stage." There's not a lot actually. There's not as many as you would think. I think I landed on like inflatable raccoon, and I was like, "How does that make sense with title holder?" Okay, I don't know.
It
We'll
doesn't.
we'll table that idea. Yeah,
Table that. Table that.
yeah. We'll get to that another time.
Well, we have come to the final question of this conversation that we're having, and it's the most important one we have. What is your favorite dinosaur?
I've just been playing with a little Stegosaurus all over our living room with my son, and I'm teaching him all the names of the dinosaurs. But it's so fun to hear my son go Stegosaurus. He's 2 years old, so he's got that going for him. But I like Stegosaurus. It's my favorite dinosaur.
Hey, Stegosaurus.
We
We don't get a
named
lot of Stegosauruses as
No,
answers,
we
so
don't.
we named him Tony. He's Tony the Stegosaurus, and at bath time, we're constantly building the story behind Tony and the life that he's led to get where he is now, which is in our house with a baby. But it's a magical thing.
Yeah, it's fun. There's videos on the internet. There's like this internet video I saw, and this kid's naming off all these dinosaurs that I can't even pronounce perfectly. And I'm just like, geez, Louise, we're teaching them young now, I guess, on these dinosaur
Oh
names, trying
yeah,
to turn them into paleontologists early or something.
yeah. My mother-in-law bought all these dinosaur bath toys where when they go in the water they light up and they're really cool. But yeah, there's like 5 or 6 of them where I had my phone and I was like, what the hell is this one called? And then I looked at how many letters were in its name and I was like, this one's name is Carla. I was like, we're just gonna call them people names.
Right? It's so crazy the names that they give dinosaurs. Yet, Chris, I feel like you have an easy time pronouncing dinosaur names.
I do?
I don't know.
Which, like what dinosaur,
I don't know. You pronounce them really well.
I guess.
I don't know.
I mean, I only know like the basics, like Brontosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and then like the ones from Jurassic Park. There was the Velociraptor, and then what's that one that was like, uh,
Dilophosaurus.
there you go, there you go.
See, and Chris knows what you're talking about when you were like, ah.
Of course.
And then Brachiosaurus, that was one of them.
Yep,
When I
that's
saw
my favorite
Jurassic,
dinosaur.
yeah, there you go. I when I was a little kid, and the first time I saw Jurassic Park, when I saw the little boy in that movie, his character's name was Tim. I watched that VHS so much when I was little that I had like convinced myself that I was going to be an actor and I was going to be in a Jurassic Park movie. There was like years where I thought like this was going to happen and I ended up in a ska band. So, you know, you can dream too, kids.
You can dream too, but you might not be in Jurassic Park. You'll just end up in a ska
You know,
band.
you know,
It's not that bad
could be
though. You get
worse.
to have fun on stage all the time, make good
Listen,
music.
I got to shoot a toilet paper gun. It's over.
Yep.
I have reached the Mount Rushmore of accolades that a up and coming ska band can reach.
The up and coming ska band can reach the heights, and maybe you too can have, you know, toilet paper launchers on stage someday. Although you'd be taking less than
You
Jake's
can't.
thunder.
Yeah,
I wonder what you could
everybody's
throw up
already
from a
got.
what could you do as on stage that you could like silly string?
You got to have somebody else do it though. Like you got to. It's got to appear that you are traveling with a team. So like we'll just send like 2 horn players off stage and then like have them regroup with like put a jacket on or something. A silly string, maybe we could like, like the movies when they have like the the pipe that goes up their arm and they can like fake projectile vomit. Maybe we could do something like that from the stage. Just
And then everyone with
might
a gag reflex is gonna throw up.
it would be very guar of us, but
It's
that
true.
that might be.
It would be very gore of you.
Yeah. We
So,
can't do red though. Maybe we'll do like a lime green or something like that. But yeah, there's not a lot of stage shticks.
nope.
But you got to
Gotta
come up.
come
You
up with
got to you
something
got to
fresh.
exactly, exactly. You don't want to be hack and ska.
Nope. You don't.
There ain't no hack and ska.
Nope.
How about how about since there's always a banana in the crowd, how about throwing banana peels in the skink pit?
That'd be dangerous.
New York City ska band sued in federal court for 13 broken ankles.
Uh,
We didn't know what we were doing. They're bananas. Come on. Just everybody, I'm walking here.
Here we got Chris trying to injure people.
Listen,
Yeah.
Mythbusters did it years and years ago, saying it's not really slippery. So,
Okay. All
I
right.
don't
So
know. I
maybe
beg
that's
to
the move.
differ.
all
I don't
right,
care
next.
if
What
Mythbusters busted that
what
myth.
happened, Jess? Tell us what happened
Nothing.
with the banana peel.
You've been
I don't
playing
want to
too much
talk
of
about
Mario Kart.
No, but I love bananas and I eat bananas and I just don't feel like those peels wouldn't be slippery
So
on the ground.
when you're done with your banana, do you feel more slippery? What do you what's your point of I eat bananas?
I just meant the peel, like it's got the moisture and stuff. It's gotta slip somewhat, but whatever. I guess I'll have to watch this Mythbusters episode and see how wrong I am. But
Listen, I'll let you know. We're playing a show with Millington at in New York City in Manhattan. When is it? When is that one coming up? Saturday, March 21st, at a place called SOBs. We will start our banana peel throwing escapades that show, and you can tune in and see how that goes for us.
I mean, we don't
Maybe
want
I'll just
to
do.
create you guys like into monsters and then people won't
Yeah,
like you anymore.
That's
you're gonna have
that's
Millington on the show, and they're gonna be like, "Those fucking title holder guys and like fucking bananas. Like, what's going on?"
that's the next traveling show I'll go to. I'll go down to the city. It'll be the end of your set. I'll be like, "Where's the fucking bananas?"
Chris, if you come, I will have one. I'll at least do one banana. I don't like. Here's the
Throw it
thing.
right at you.
I can have an idea. There's 6 other guys that will likely veto me and go, "We're not doing that, dude." So it'll just be me in the front going, and then somebody might try to like throw a bottle at me. I'll have to run really quick. But Chris, if you come, I will bring a bunch of bananas, and it'll, at least if anything, it'll just be a funny inside joke when I hold them up on stage, and you go, "Dude, you're so dumb."
Uh, but on that note, the dinosaur question was our final question that somehow turned into banana talk. But
We're off the rails.
is there anything else you'd like to add at the end of this conversation for whoever might still be listening to this nonsense?
No, I'm just so happy to be here. It's been the greatest night of my life. I feel like we've become best friends, and I can't wait to make it out to Wisconsin. I also am excited one day to book up in upstate New York. We haven't really had a chance to get up there, and I know there's not a lot of there's. I think there's an upstate New York ska fest that happens, but no, listen to Title Holder. Come see us live. We'll be at This Is Not Croydon Fest. We're playing on Sunday, April 26th. The headliners that night are Voodoo Glow Skulls, Against All Authority, The Toasters. We're in Manhattan on March 21st with Millington, and we are setting up a nice little weekender to hit Washington, D.C. and Baltimore and Virginia this summer in August with our friends in the band called the Bad Ups. So we don't play a lot, but when we play, it's a real special moment, and we'll make sure that we've got bananas.